Alright, welcome back to another episode of Quest for Fives, and when we left off, this car wasn't all the way together. Did a little walkthrough around it, car wasn't running, nothing was happening to it, but finally, we have stuff going on. We got the Holley Terminator system, got it all plugged up because I was that excited for it. And yeah, super easy to install. I'm gonna go over the wires that you kind of have to look at and plug in, and how I ran my relay in the back of the car for the fuel pump. Other than that, is really straightforward. I'm gonna go over tuning and stuff like that later on once I get better at it. Still kind of learning the ropes of it. It's really simple. Just takes a little bit of practice so you can figure out what controls everything. But before we jump into this, we're gonna jump over here. Now this is the harness I had before. Now this is a micro squirt computer harness. This was good for when I had ran the motor just stock, nothing done to it. You can tell it's just a bundle of wires. Now I didn't wire this, so don't hold anything against me. These are all jelly wires from like a speaker. Guy who had it before me did this. I didn't see it. You know, I kind of never really acknowledged it. I was like, wow, the engine runs, that's cool. Yeah, now that I look at it, I'm just like, wow, this is a mess in comparison to that thing. So, let me get over here and look at this thing again. This is what everyone's here for. This thing's a cool thing. Had to buy one adapter right here. This is for the map sensor right in the back. I run an LS3 map, and this is an LS1 plug. So it does what it's supposed to do. It adapts to an LS3. Straightforward. So you get this on Amazon, you get it on Holley. I got mine through Amazon because it's a lot quicker to ship it on Prime, especially since it was Prime Day. So that came in a lot really quickly. Took like a day and the car was started up. Worked out great. Other thing I had to buy was this thing down here for a coolant temperature sensor. Had to get a 2-prong, I had a 3-prong. I don't know why I had a 3 in this thing. It's what that harness had, so I just used it anyway, and it worked out great. Now on this side, nothing really changed. I basically took the old plug I had and plugged it in there for the coolant temperature so I can plug this hole, and that was it. All the wires I ran are at the intake, so you can't even see any wires. Everything's loomed up. This is my fuel right here. Definitely have to change those over. The more I'm reading about it, these lines should probably be a little bigger. Probably gonna end up running maybe like an 8 or a 10 and then like maybe like a 12 on the return. But that's for a later thing. Once I blow a fuel line off the car, then maybe I'll think about changing it. But let's jump right inside the car. Not too worried about anything up here. It's really straightforward. I have EV6 injectors too, so if you're running a different type of injector, make sure you choose the right one. There's definitely a bunch of different kits you can pick from different types of reluctor wheels to different types of engines. So make sure you pick the right one. Just scroll through it real quick. Mine's a 24 tooth reluctor with EV6 injectors. It's like the second option on the thing. It's perfect. But let's get inside the car. And look at that. Trained professional. I even put a light so I can actually see what I'm doing. And you guys can see. That's perfect. And again, we're not going to be worried about this computer right now. Later on, we're going to go through all the features of it and all the tuning capabilities of it. But for now, let's not worry about it. We'll just worry about the wiring. Start with this one. This is for your fuel pump. Now, if you run any pump that needs more than like 15 amps, you're going to need to use this as a trigger wire. I'll show you guys that in the back, but that basically gets ran through a relay with a ground and a power coming out. Really straightforward, really simple. This black wire is a ground. Goes to a chassis ground. Nothing big deal there. Just go through, screw it down with a sheet metal screw, and you're good. This guy here, this is basically going to need to be wired to something that has cranking power as well as key on power. So when you crank the car over, this should have power. And then when you have the car running, that should still have power. That's all you need it for. That basically delivers power to the computer and you're good to go. Lastly, or not lastly, we have one other wire, but that one's optional. We have this red wire here. That red wire runs right to your starter on the big terminal. That one's for when key is cranking over. That is supplying power up here, and you're golden. Lastly, we have this one right here, this blue wire. Now, this is optional in the kit. That runs to your tack. So for me, it's this green wire. Splice them together, and now your tack's working. Now, for a lot of forums that I read, actually, a lot of people said to disconnect these wires in the back. Now, if you disconnect the cycle wires in the back, that's going to change how it's going to operate, basically. So disconnect them both. You can think of it as running as a 4-cylinder. It's going to make the RPMs fluctuate a lot higher. So when I disconnected them all originally, it used to idle at like 4 grand. With them connected now, it actually matches up with the computer, which is at 1,000 RPM. So works out great. Just make sure you double check that if you have any issues. But other than that, that is it. And when you get to click on the car, all these lights will show right here. The keys are in the back right now because I have the trunk open, so I can show you guys the fuel pump. Whoop. This cage though, we need to change this because this cage is like up to my shoulder when I sit down. So when I need to get out of the car, I have to like roll out of the car. It looks cool when you drive up, but when you have to get out, you just look stupid. Go to the back, got my little fuel cell. Definitely need to change that too. But right in here are my 2 relays. Now the green wire running from the actual harness is running right into there for my trigger wire. And then I have this loom right there that's running out for power to the pumps. The rest of it's going to be a ground wire basically, and power from the battery, of course. And other than that, that's about all you have to do for those. Slide under the car real quick, and we'll talk about some fuel pumps. Whoop. Whoop. Boom. I have my monster of a pump now in here. This is the Holley fuel pump here. It's a dual pump. It is loud. I started it for like 2 seconds so I can kind of see it with fuel going through it, and then I realized I had the wrong fittings. But it is loud. I will tell you that. It is a lot louder than an Aeromotive pump, but it produces the pressure I need, and it was on express delivery, so I got it. In comparison though, this is my Walbro pump. Walbro pump puts out 43 PSI. It worked out pretty good from when it was stock, but this one puts out 80. I need it, so I had to buy it. But other than that, that's pretty much all I needed to pick up. That was the biggest issue I had, was just purchasing that pump. So slide back out. Definitely gonna have to get, oh, we made cornholes too. Yeah, if anyone's ever interested in a cornhole, we make some pretty cool ones. They glow in the dark too, so it's pretty cool. But another thing I want to talk about before I end the video off, editing for this video, I'm gonna get better at. I'm definitely still working on that. I got a software now that I'm gonna be working with, so it's not gonna be just like these one-take videos of me walking around the car and talking. Definitely want to get into more actually working on the car and taking videos of me working on the car instead of me just talking about what I just did. You know, I wish I took a video of me doing the computer system, but I didn't have editing software at that time. So now that I do, I'm going to be picking up either another LS or I'm going to be picking up something else, like another vehicle, just so I can walk you guys through just start to finish of an LS build. Still have this one, of course, still building this car, but show you guys how it's done from start to finish, because that was something I wish I had when I was building this car originally. A lot of people say, they're like, oh, this is how you're supposed to do it, but I ran into so many issues that doing a video now with this car, you know, probably helps someone out along the way. Especially for buying turbos, because let me show you this. I have a scrapyard of turbos back here. There's one up there. No need to worry about that guy right there. This guy. Pretty nicely, you can see pressure blades ended up just jumping around and hitting, and took itself out. And the reason for that was just because of the nut inside there backed out, came out. And how that could do that is because I ran an elbow up here originally with my intercooler piping that ran down. This elbow here pinched itself, caused back pressure, and basically caused that thing to spin in reverse. That's how I think of it as, and caused it all just to kind of fall apart. And I had that happen 3 times. 3 times with these turbos blow apart. This is the longest lasting one. And to be honest with you, this is just a hodgepodge of like 3 other turbos put together. So I had a good housing, had a good back housing or exducer, and I had a good section in the center that I just was able to put all together, and it worked out great until the engine blew. Of course, that didn't blow up. That thing blew up. But other than that, I'm really excited. Finally getting it all together. Everything's looking good. I'm working on some tuning issues probably this weekend or this week, and get back to another video of me actually working on the car. I'm going to be working on some suspension next. Probably do a little bit of welding up in there, which you guys will be able to see my amazing welding abilities. They're not. We'll get better at it while we go. But I want to change over the shocks in the back to do a relocation kit, just because it right now is bottoming out when I drive, so giving the car a little bit more travel, a little bit more bounce to it is definitely gonna help this car hook. And that's what we're gonna need to get this car on the vibes. We need this thing to hook. I can build this engine. This engine's pretty cool, but if it doesn't hook in the back, this thing doesn't mean anything. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to go any quicker. It's basically just going to be well, it won't be a slug. It would just be a really fast skid mark, I guess. That would make sense. It would just skid all the way down the track. But that would be about it. Until next time, y'all take it easy.